UFC 300, Figueiredo versus Garbrandt. This is one of those matchups that looks cool on paper, but may not be as close as you think. I love both of these fighters. Now, Figueiredo was the face of the flyweight division for a time before running into the assassin baby. However, he still has plenty of elite skill to handle Cody Garbrandt. We all know what Cody can do, and he is dangerous to anyone he faces. And I don't think that he's washed up by any means, but I do feel that he may need at least one more fight before taking a daring challenge against a guy of Figueiredo's caliber. It won't be easy for Devinson, but unless Cody can get the knockout, I have Figueiredo with a KO in round 3. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. This fight was supposed to happen 3 times before and was canceled each time. Both fighters are similar in age, both similar in records. It will be interesting to see how Jim Miller performs, as some say it could be his last bout. Heck, Jim Miller is the only UFC fighter to have fought in UFC 100, 200, and 300. Green is coming off a knockout loss, and I feel he will be looking for a knockout of his own. But I think Jim Miller will try to make this a boring fight and try to take him down and wrestle him, where I think Bobby Green will actually have a weakness. There usually is an underdog win on each card, and I feel that this is the one to pick. So I got Jim Miller by a decision victory. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. The first real dogfight of the card. 2 very violent women of the UFC. This one is destined to be a banger. Both coming off stoppage wins in their recent efforts, they both know how to scrap. Andrade is coming off a very active year where we saw her fight 5 times. Marina, just like Andrade, has a few back-to-back losses, so both ladies have had their ups and downs. But one thing is for sure, when you face these two, it's destined to be a war. They are willing to take just as much as they are willing to give. I still say that if I had to give an edge, I'd give the edge to the one with the most elite level experience, as it isn't hurtful to your game to have a lesson handed to you by Shevchenko. And also, 5 fights in 1 year? Girl, chill out, my Atlanta. I could see it go either way, but I'll go with the Jessica Andrade 3rd round KO. Jaylen Turner versus Ronaldo Moicano. So let's get right to it. Jaylen Turner has knockout power, and Ronaldo Moicano is a submission threat. Jaylen has never been submitted, but there is a first time for everything, folks. Moicano isn't the most durable UFC fighter by any means, and many even question his chin. I think if it stays on the feet, it's lights out for Moicano, and Turner will get the KO. But something tells me that Ronaldo spends enough time on the internet to know what's up. Maybe even too much. And he wants the check. So if he's smart, he's going to want to make this a boring wrestling fight. So I got Ronaldo Moicano by a boring decision victory. Sodiq Yusuff versus Diego Lopez. I don't want to go into much detail on this one, because not only do I think Diego Lopez will win, but I'd root for him regardless. If you know, you know. Round 2 KO for Diego Lopez. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison makes her UFC debut. She's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist and 2-time PFL champion. She has her eyes now on UFC gold and believes Holly Holm is a good stepping stone to that. But she may need more than beating the Luke Rockhold of the women's bantamweight division if she wants to compete with the elite. Nonetheless, whoever wins this will probably be in the title picture. Skills-wise, Harrison is the queen of judo. She will be looking for the takedown and the ground and pound. Holm is a veteran, and she's very durable. I could see a knockout happening, but only from Harrison's side, since I'm not sure if Holly Holm has anything left in the tank at her age. So, in that case, I got Harrison by decision. Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling makes his debut at featherweight. We've seen how good of a striker Kattar is, and we have seen the fact that Sterling is not known to match well against elite strikers. Aljamain Sterling is all about the ground game. Kattar has a 91% takedown defense, and he isn't just a striker, but homeboy can scrap. However, let's be real here, who has he really beat? And Aljamain has a better resume in comparison. If it stays on the feet the whole 3 rounds, sure, Kattar with the victory. But I find it hard to believe that Aljamain will not get Kattar down. So I got a decision victory for Aljamain Sterling. Man, this is a good card. Jiri Prochazka versus Aleksandar Rakic. Jiri is obviously coming off a fight where he got destroyed by Alex Pereira. Or did he? He's looking to bounce back. He's got that very unique, awkward, but creative style that is dangerous for any opponent he faces. Rakic, on the other hand, is a little more controlled and stable when it comes to his striking in comparison with Jiri. I actually would consider Rakic to have the advantage in this matchup, but to be honest, Homeboy hasn't fought since being sidelined after the Blachowicz fight in 2022, 2 flipping years ago. So you have to give the edge to the slightly more active fighter. I personally wouldn't want to face this monster as my first trip back home. I got Prochazka by a 2nd round KO. Now to the main card. Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. Nice fight. Let's get right to it. Bo Nickal is on a tear. He is a rising star, capable of submitting you or taking your lights out. Cody Brundage is a step up in competition for him compared to the other guys on his resume. And Brundage is a good wrestler, and when he tries to take Bo down on the ground, that actually might end up being his downfall. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Bo Nickal submitting Cody Brundage in the 2nd round. Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. Whoever wins this match will face Islam Makhachev next for the title. So there are high stakes in this fight. Charles Oliveira is an animal, has shared the octagon with many great fighters, and is a former champion. Arman is coming though. He's on his way. This could be his time. He is known for his elite wrestling, but his striking has also really improved over the years. Oliveira is always down for war, but his defense isn't the greatest. And I think between the two of them, who, by the way, they both faced Islam Makhachev before, we probably prefer to see Arman have another crack at it. If it stays on the feet, Oliveira stands a chance, but even still, he could be sparked. And so could Arman, but it just seems like it's Arman's time. I mean, I swear, sometimes I think the UFC is scripted. Let's go crazy here. I got Arman Tsarukyan winning by submission. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. How have these two guys not faced each other yet? I could have sworn that I saw... Okay, wait, never mind. That was probably on UFC too. Never mind. This one is bound to be a classic. Max Holloway with the most significant strikes landed in UFC history. Justin Gaethje with 20 knockouts and 25 career wins. Both guys are dogs in the cage. They both have fought everybody but each other, and it's for the BMF belt. Skills-wise, both have really good striking. Holloway with the hands, Gaethje with the kicks. They both can take damage, but I'd say between the two, Justin isn't as durable as Holloway. I think he would be better off trying to get rid of Max Holloway early in the fight, but if it gets past 2 rounds, I think Holloway begins to take over. This is a 5-rounder, folks. So I got Max Holloway by a bloody decision. Zhang Weili versus Yan Jinan. Both these fighters have been in the octagon with tough competition, and both create fireworks. Yan, the first ever female Chinese fighter facing the champ of the division, the battle-tested Zhang Weili. Yan is also battle-tested too, coming off a knockout of Jessica Andrade in her last bout, while Zhang earned the belt against Esparza, retaining her reign in the division once again, afterwards having a dominant performance against Amanda Lemos, landing almost 270 more significant strikes than her opponent. Bro, what? Both of these ladies are Chinese warriors, and honestly, this should have instead been a main event in China, but maybe Dana has been hanging around the Nelk boys too long or something. But either ways, this is one of the fights I'm looking forward to the most. They are both 34, both Chinese, both down for war. Zhang is a little bit more technically disciplined. She has more finishes, however, Zhang has more decisions. It's a battle of two wills, folks. You have to go with the champion having an edge in this one, but I already know many will be picking Zhang. So I think this card deserves one more surprise turn of events, so I'm going to go with a KO victory by Yan Jinan. And now, the main event. Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Alex Pereira a few years ago was known as the villain of the Adesanya arc. But once everybody left Adesanya's anime fantasy, they realized this guy is a true superstar all by himself. This guy is a monster. And acts like one too. Even lives in Tom Aspinall's head rent-free. He's coming off a knockout victory of Jiri Prochazka, who is a monster in his own right, and of course knocking out the likes of Sean Strickland and of course Israel Adesanya himself. Some already lose by the time they do the face-off. He has incredible striking and has a more quiet, subtle attack which is very effective. His kicks sometimes even seem to come out of nowhere. He's battle-tested, and I'm glad he gets his shot to shine on UFC 300. Jamal Hill is the former belt holder of the light heavyweight division before relinquishing it due to an injury last summer. When he is healthy, this guy is very dangerous. Brilliant technique, well-rounded, great striker, good on the ground too. He's patient and he doesn't overdo it. He knows he has power, he knows his strengths, but he is patient and calculated. He is used to getting the victory by knockout, and the only time he won 5 rounds was twice in his career, most notably when he won the belt against Glover Teixeira. He's definitely had his battles. However, Alex Pereira is ready. It looks like it. Well, doesn't really look like anything to be honest, but use your imagination. It's Pereira's time, folks. He has the better resume, he has the skill to match up with the artistry that Jamal holds, but I think the key factor here is that Pereira is still more active and Hill is coming off an injury. I could see it be a war for 5 rounds, but I think both these guys don't want to have to wait long to get their after-fight meal. So I got Alex Pereira retaining his belt by knocking out Jamal Hill in the 3rd round.